I bought these second generation AirPods over 2 years ago, and I expected them to break so quickly that I actually bought another pair. And unfortunately, or fortunately enough, they still haven't broken because... Okay, those might be broken, but I still haven't used them. I think we know by now that Apple is not short of controversy when it comes to listening devices and headphones. The aux cord getting taken off of the iPhone, earbuds making them over $1 billion, and the AirPod Maxes, which are extremely overpriced, but are still amazing. With all the advances and controversy regarding headphones from Apple, I wanted to bring it back to the basics with this first generation AirPod. And you know what? I love them. When we talk about Apple products, there's usually a new one every year or another 18 to 24 months. And when that happens, we forget about these great gems that can still be usable today. And we get caught up in this rabbit hole of new is always better and the old is always out. And if you watched my previous video on the M1 Max and the M1 Pro chips in the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros, the ones that were released in 2021, I think we all know that new is not necessarily better when it comes with a higher price tag. Let me just put these back in here for a minute. When I put these on, I still don't even realize that I'm actually wearing them. Now for sitting around doing schoolwork or traveling, AirPods worked perfectly, but there was a concern that when I brought them out into the real world, whether if that's sports, running around, trying to even run to the bus, that one or both of them could fall out of my ears and I'd be stuck with half or no headphones. Let's just say I was wrong. I've done over 200 workouts, 50 different sporting activities, and just a couple runs in the rain. And if you're from Vancouver or know Vancouver, it rains a lot. So at this point, after a few years, all the workouts, all the moisture, sweat, rain, all the drops that I've had with them as well, I was convinced that I had the golden pair of first generation AirPods. So if you guys have a story similar to this, please leave it down in the comments section below so I know I'm not the only one with this great experience. And after all that running and jumping, I was quite surprised at how well the AirPods stayed in my ear without any wingtips, anything to keep it in place. It stayed perfectly. Unlike these guys right here, the Studio Beats buds, which have a tendency to fall out of my ear every 30 seconds and were so unusable in the gym, I almost dropped weight on them. Here's some examples of me using the AirPods in just some simple shooting drills and some simple workouts. But if you notice when I put the Studio buds in, they're gonna fall out almost immediately. Any movement of the head, any movement of the neck seems to pop these out of my ears almost instantly, and they're just unusable at this point. I'd rather use these, yet again, Jurassic Power Beats over the Studio Beats because they stay in my ear. Like, music and headphones is worthless when the headphones fall out of your ears. So although the sound quality on these Power Beats suck, I'd rather use them for any fitness case, because once you lose one of these, your headphones are pretty much useless. Like, who wants to only listen to one headphone? One thing I want to talk about as well that I noticed, especially in the gym, is that all of these AirPod Pros, AirPod Maxes, all became status symbols. When the AirPods first came out, you were the cool person when you were wearing them. You had Apple's first pair of wireless headphones that were great quality and that you could make calls on, leave your phone in your pocket, and it was a big status symbol when you saw somebody wearing an AirPod back in the day. Then the AirPod Pros came out and it transitioned almost immediately. After Christmas, every single person had a pair of AirPod Pros. And although they marketed the AirPod Pros to be a little bit more durable and water resistant than the actual AirPods themselves, I noticed that just everybody in the gym had a pair, and you couldn't get away from that status symbol of you had the AirPod Pros over the original AirPods. Just like the 2 and the 3 camera setup on the iPhones, you could definitely tell that that AirPod Pro became the new status symbol. And then the AirPod Maxes came out. And although I don't really see too many people wearing these in the gym or out and about, I do see that as the new status symbol, where the AirPod Pros are almost, nobody really wants them anymore. But if you want to be part of that status symbol again, you have to spend all that money on the AirPod Maxes. And then you get into this weird middle ground of figuring out which product actually works best for you. And although I haven't tried the 3rd generation of AirPods, I feel like that actually might be the best bet headphone for anybody. But regardless if it's the AirPods, AirPod Pros, or AirPod Maxes, Apple makes great products that can last a long time, except for these gotta go. So you don't have to spend all that money on the AirPod Maxes to get that great sound quality. You can probably get them out of just a 3rd generation AirPod, and when I do test them out, I will let you know my thoughts. So whenever I buy a technology product, I always like to think about how much better is this generation than the last one, and how much better do I expect the next generation to be from this current one that I'm considering buying. Going back to the laptops, where I could see that the current generation versus the previous generation, that leap was not big enough for me to want to get the new and cool thing, especially when the older generation was on a discount. But just like every other Apple product, the new one isn't always necessarily better. And should you or should you not spend that extra money on the newer cool thing when you can get away with something simple like this. So I've been traveling a lot recently and I've had a great opportunity to test these Jurassic AirPods out, and regardless if it's on a plane, train, bus, or just walking around in the city, it's still a product that I love. Even with these things being over 2 years old, on a plane, I can still get the volume loud enough that I can actually hear whatever I'm listening to, rather if it's a movie, music, whatever it is, I still have enough volume to listen to whatever I want to listen to. Even 2 years later, when the speakers are obviously a little bit worn out. And they still work with my Apple products almost flawlessly. I can still interchange from my laptop to my phone. It's flawless, I don't have to worry about it. Honestly, the controls on the side still work. I haven't had a single issue with this. I'm actually shocked that I haven't had an issue with this. When I was on the plane, I was able to listen to my music and watch my movies, not even at full volume, and I had enough volume to listen. Yes, the noise cancellation I'm sure would have been great, but it did enough for me. Like, what do you guys want? If you want the best product out there, just go spend that money. I think people forget that Apple makes such good quality products when it comes to the physicality of that product, like how strong they are, what materials they use. There's no real cheap corners with Apple products. They put a lot of time and resources into them. So if you take good care of your Apple products, laptops, AirPods, phones, whatever it may be, they can still be very usable today. When I was traveling in the States, I got a US SIM card and plopped it into an iPhone 8. And although, it's a little bit slow, that iPhone still worked perfectly. And I was still able to operate on an iPhone 8. You guys remember that little Touch ID button? Took a little bit of getting used to, but still worked. And I hate sounding like a broken record, but especially with technology products getting more expensive nowadays and just the cost of living being a lot more than it used to be, getting by with what you can actually use at an affordable price, I think is an important thing to consider. But I also think it's important, just like the laptops I was talking about, to somewhat future-proof yourself. So yeah, maybe 2023, these AirPods or an old Intel Mac isn't gonna be the best thing for you to use. You gotta figure out what's best case for you. If you're a professional sound engineer, do not use these. But if you're just somebody trying to listen to music in class, get tuned from school, whatever it may be, and you get a pair of these for like $100, I'd be quite happy. You gotta figure out your use case and how that product can be used effectively in your own environment. Rather if it's work, personal, whatever it is, try to figure out where you fall on the spectrum of what's available for you. And for anybody wondering, yes, I have tested other headphones. I'm not just going into this blind. I've tried all the AirPod Pros, AirPod Maxes, all the Beats Studio Buds, all of that. But these are still my favorite day-to-day use product that I have, and I plan to continue using them for another 2 years. Let's see if we can make it.